reading through your background is like the kind of all-stars of the, med tech, pharma space.
I've been in biotech, health tech, med tech, whatever we want to call it, for about the last 30 years. Worked for some pretty big names, mostly in the diabetes space, either with the drugs that are used for diabetics, or with the technology that measures glucose or glycated hemoglobin, A1C, those kind of things. So worked for Abbott, worked for Roche, worked for Novo Nordisk, before going to Medtronic, where I spent about 13 years before starting down this digital healthcare journey that we're on right now.
Now, how did you arrive at the Glooko opportunity and decide to kind of take the helm there?
Yeah, yeah, crazy story. So I was at Medtronic, as you said, for about a dozen years, and I constantly got phone calls. Hey, do you want to come here? Do you want to come there? And I was like, no, I'm gonna retire at Medtronic. I'm never leaving. And then the pandemic hit, and I lived in right outside of New York City in Connecticut. And of course, that was ground zero during the pandemic, and we were seeing, people, friends of ours passing away, young, healthy people being affected by COVID. And running the coronary business, and I was looking at our numbers going down because people were afraid to go into the clinics. They were afraid to go into the emergency rooms. People were literally dying at home during the pandemic because they were just afraid, rightfully so. And I thought there's got to be something that we can do. And I had an opportunity to get into the remote patient monitoring business, which I did for because I felt that it was the right thing to help people at the right time. And that led to Glooko. So I really didn't. So when Glooko called me, they were, looking for a new leader that had experience in digital healthcare, in med tech, and in diabetes. So I was kind of a little bit of a unicorn for them. There aren't too many people like that, and was able to, share what my vision of Glooko should look like. The board really rallied behind it, and because I really had no intention of making any additional changes. But when I looked at the Glooko platform and I looked at the unmet need, I thought, wow, this could really be something big. And after 1 year, I can tell you, we just announced a big acquisition. We continue to get deeper and deeper into the diabetes ecosystem. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, and I think it's going to continue to be a very successful place for us.
And for the benefit of our audience, I'd like to kind of go further into what Glooko provides because it's a platform that is adaptable to any device out there, which makes it unique as compared to how other devices have to be, you know, solely kind of like synced with one kind of platform.
Yeah. So, I shared with you that when I was at Medtronic, we had a similar platform called PaceArt. So what PaceArt did was it kind of took the information from the five big manufacturers of pacemakers and defibrillators and presented it all in one platform. At Glooko, the diff is similar in the sense that we take all the information from the manufacturers and present it on one platform. The difference is in diabetes, there's almost 300 manufacturers out there.
Mhm.
People that make pumps, patches, glucose monitors, BGM, CGM, smart pens. And what ends up happening for the physician and their staff is when that patient comes in, they want to have access to their data. Well, you can imagine on your laptop having 200 different platforms that you have to access for that data. That's number one. Number two, the I don't know if you've ever rented a car and it's a different model than what you drive every day, and you go to turn the windshield wipers on and it's like, oh wait, where is it? It's on this side, it's on that side. So what that does for the healthcare professional is it creates a little bit of clinical burnout if they have to look at 200 different platforms and switch constantly. And the issue is consumers have choice. So that not everyone is going to have the same device. So you have to be prepared to look at all these different platforms. What Glooko does is we're device agnostic. We aggregate all that data onto one platform. So the physician goes one place and he sees the data in the same spot every time.
Hmm.
And this is important, especially in the US, because when you look at the healthcare professional landscape, we only have about 8,000 endocrinologists in the US. We probably need closer to 20,000. So we are way understaffed with the specialty side. When you look at the nurses that really support this, the diabetes nurse educators and the staff in the clinic, we're probably the same numbers, probably about 20,000 understaffed. And people get burnt out and they leave the industry. And this is just one other way to prevent that. That's number one. Number two, the other thing that happens is if you don't have access to the data, you end up writing it down. If you write it down, you're open to medical errors, or you just don't jot it down because you have so much work. So we improve efficiency, we reduce errors, and we reduce clinical burnout. And that's the premise of solving for this, what I call the Tower of Babel.
Hmm.
You have 300 devices. We try to bring it all into one platform for the healthcare professional and for the patient as well.
Hmm. It seems like a no-brainer for someone to use this, and I'm not trying to plug your product, but it's like what other alternative is there? I mean,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you use a one unified system?
Exactly. And I think that's why when you look at our business, we really have three businesses. So we work with our device partners who come onto our platform. We work with the clinics and the hospitals who use our platform.
Mhm.
And then we work with life science companies who are looking to find patients to enroll in clinical trials. So when you look at us, we have 10,000 clinics in 35 countries, over 4 million patients, 22 different languages. So it is kind of a no-brainer. And I would say we're probably 90% penetrated in the US in those clinics. Where we're going to now is into the enterprise level in the hospitals because we integrate seamlessly with the EMRs, the EHRs like Epic and Oracle. So we make it even more seamless and more efficient to work with us. So yeah, we think it's a no-brainer too. So, and I think it's a good spot. It's a good business model, growing double digits. But sadly, we have more and more type 2 diabetics that are coming into the system. So a bigger need, especially like down at the primary care level, because a lot of those type 2s are going in to see non-specialists. So people, they start with their primary care. So we need to get down into those clinics as well. So there's more opportunity for us there.
Hmm.
But as long as we make it easy, I think you're right. It is a no-brainer.
So the top line growth, what's really going to move the needle from what I'm hearing is entry into more of the hospitals, and then secondly, the providing the data to life sciences companies.
Yeah. Well, actually, for us, you're right. So it's the hospitals, and then it's the primary care business, which is the type twos that are going into primary care. And a lot of these in the U.S., a lot of those clinics are owned by the hospitals, so
Okay.
that's the synergy there. And then the data that these life science companies, when you think about it, they're looking to find the right patients to enroll quickly so that they can get their trials up and running as fast as possible. That's super important because you can spend a year just identifying the right patients. Well, if you're running a study where you need to look at glucose measurements, then this is a great place for us to be able to say, here's a data set of patients that will help you activate your study quicker, with the right patient set. So there's where that value comes from. So those are the three big drivers for us. We have natural tailwinds in the sense that type 2 diabetes is growing double digits. Type 1 diabetes is always growing right beneath double digits, right around 9%. So just by its very nature, that business continues to grow with some very healthy tailwinds. But the big driver, and the reason that we're growing multiples of that, is that Efficiency is and just getting things done quicker is very important in American healthcare. You got to do more with less people in the American healthcare system. So when you have a product that improves outcomes and lowers costs, once again, no brainer. And that's
Mhm.
what we kind of believe that we've said.
Mhm. What's the vision for Glooko as a company? Do you have your sights on going public? You've got a lot of capital that you brought in.
Mhm. Well, so we did $100 million raise back in October, and we told the market, we were going to do some internal growth initiatives with that money, as well as target some acquisitions. We just announced the first big target, which is an inpatient insulin dosing company called Monarch Medical Technologies. Monarch has been around for almost 2 decades, and they have a best-in-class AI-driven algorithm that that really supports patients in the critical care setting. When you think about the U.S. market alone, about 7 million patients are admitted to the hospital. 30 to 40% of those patients are going to require insulin while they're in the hospital. So a couple of million people need this. The CMS has come out with guidelines that hospitals need to show they have an electronic quality measuring management system for reporting adverse events associated with insulin.
Hmm.
And that's what Monarch solves for. And when you look at Gluco, we've been primarily an outpatient focused platform. Monarch is an inpatient focused platform. So the synergy between the two are massive. So we did a lot of pre-work before we acquired Monarch, and the KOLs told us, listen, if you can show the journey of that patient while they're inpatient and then manage them during the discharge until they see their physician, which sometimes in the US could take 8, 10 weeks before you see your specialist, that's massively beneficial. So it's the entire continuum of care of that patient that the physician can look at and determine what the best healthcare plan of action is going to be for that patient. That's what this merger will solve for. We'll be the only company in the world that does that.
Hmm.
So right now we're working on the integration user interface platforms that help that journey that we'll launch here in the first quarter of 2026. So we're very excited about this because it's really going to do two things. It's going to improve healthcare for those
Mhm.
patients, and it's going to reduce costs for the healthcare system. And we think that's just a no-brainer.